Hello again. Here we are going to solve another normalization question, and here is a given table, and besides they have also asked define update insertion and deletion anomalies based on this table. So in this video we are going to see how you should write your answers if the question is about normalization. And in this one, first we are going to attempt this part. Here I have written a small definition of what is anomaly. So anomaly is basically some unexpected kind of behavior or some inconsistency and redundancy, that kind of situation. If that occurs in a database, that is anomaly, and that occurs due to poorly designed or not normalized database. So basically there are three types of anomalies: update, deletion and insertion anomalies. We'll look into them one by one in the context of this table. So let's first see update anomaly. Suppose I updated, suppose the college address of this college 2 changed to KTM, and some database person updated only this tuple here based on this student MNO, but this tuple has not been updated. Now what you see is same college 2 has two different addresses. So this is one example of inconsistency in database caused by update anomaly. So this is happening because this is a poorly designed table, as we all can see. This is not normalized yet. Another part is insertion anomalies. So based on the design of the table, you can see various types of anomalies, and in this table we can see two types of anomalies. One is, if we suppose that these two or either one of these, if college name or both college name and college address are not null columns. So if these two columns have this not null attribute, then if I want to insert a new student ABCD or something like that, whose date of birth is this, and I want to insert this student's record in this table, but this student has not been admitted to any college yet. So this is the situation. In this situation we do not have values for these two columns. So what you have to do is you have to insert null values, but because these two columns are not null columns, or they have not null attributes, they will not accept, these two columns will not accept null values. So in this case, even though we have the data of the student, due to lack of data of college, we are not able to insert a new record in this table. So this is one insertion anomaly. Okay. Another case could be something like this. We have a new college XYZ or something like that, C underscore XYZ, and this college does not have any students yet, or let's say we do not have the data of students who belong to this college. So if you try to insert this college's record in this table, it will not work. Why? Because these two primary keys, they cannot be null. They cannot accept null values. So since we do not have information about students, we are trying to insert null values here, which will cause error in the SQL command. So this will cause, these are two examples of insertion anomalies. Next we'll see deletion anomalies. Suppose suppose we want to delete record of this student, okay, and this college 1 has record of only one student, single student, considering the values in this table. So if I delete this record from this table, then I'll have to delete everything here. So my intention was only to delete record of the student, not of the college, but unintentionally the record of this college 1 is also deleted. So this is one example of deletion anomaly. Okay. And there is no fixed column, or there is no fixed way on which the anomalies will occur, but if the design of the table is poor like this, obviously some kind of anomalies can occur. And in this one I have highlighted the key points, so you can go through these and you can write accordingly if they ask in exam. So we'll get started with the normalization after writing this. Let's start with first normal form. As we can see very clearly, this column here is violating the first normal form because of these non-atomic or multi-valued attribute. So the first step is to break down this table into R1 and R2. We segregated, we brought phone numbers in a different table, so that now this table has name, birth year and phone numbers. We had to bring these both attributes because without each other, or if we use only one of these attributes, then it is not sufficient to uniquely identify the tuple or uniquely identify the student. So now this table has three prime keys working as a composite key. So we fixed the 1NF in this, and the remaining attributes, remaining columns are here as expected. And now both the tables R1 and R2, they are in 1NF. So we are done with 1NF. Next is 2NF. So let's get started with 2NF. So if we check these two tables, do they have partial dependency? The question is, do they have partial dependency? Now this table obviously does not have, because all of these are prime attributes, so there isn't any dependency, any partial dependency as such. And in this one, so here it's a bit I wouldn't say complicated, but there are two ways to go forward from here. Okay, what I have done is I have considered name and birth year, the primary key, the composite key, based on the given question, and I am moving forward in that way. What I can also do is I can consider this also as a prime key. Now the composite key will be name, birth year and college. So if you go this way, then there will be partial dependency here. In that case, you have to say there is a partial dependency, because this address, student's address, does not need college name, and college address does not need these two attributes. So in that way the table has partial dependency, but I took a different method. What I did is I took the primary keys based on the question, and I did not consider this one as a prime key here. So in this way, if I do this, then we can say this address is derived from a combination of name and birth year. College name is also derived from combination of both, and also the college address is being derived from both the attributes, name and birth year. These two are the key attributes which are deriving address, college name and college address separately. So if I look into the table this way, then there is no partial dependency. In R1 obviously there is no partial dependency. In that way, even considering only this much as the primary key, composite key, all remaining non-prime attributes are depending on the primary key. So based on that consideration, there is no partial dependency in R2. So these two tables, we can say R1 and R2 are already in 2NF. Now let's go to 3NF. So since we kept the table like this, we certainly have transitivity here now, because these two attributes are deriving college name, and they are also deriving college address, and college name is also being derived from college address is also being derived from college name. So in that way, we can see there is a transitivity here. There is transitivity based on these functional dependencies. These are the functional dependencies in this table R2, where you can see transitivity, and there is no transitivity in R1. So based on this, we have to break down the table into two tables. Now we have R3 and R4, where in R3 we have college name and college address. Because it was being derived from college name, we kept it in a separate table. And similarly R4, the remaining attributes, name, birth year, address and college name, we need it here, also here. Here we need it because we need to know which student is studying in, or which student is admitted to which college. So this attribute must be here. Now these two tables are in 3NF. This is in 3NF, this is also in 3NF, because now we cannot see any transitivity here. So these are the final tables, R1, R3 and R4. These are just copies of the previous tables. I have just made a copy of each of them. So this is the final answer for this question based on the data given in the table in the question. And at last, what I would like to add is, if we consider only the data given in the table in the question, if we consider only the data present here, then this much is fine. But in a real project or in a real scenario, the name and birth year cannot be sufficient to uniquely identify any tuple to any student, because in the same year a person with same name can be born, another person with the same name and same birth year. There can be multiple people with same name and same birth year. So ideally, so this much is fine, but if you want to write better answers, if you want to gain extra marks, then it is better to write down this also. So in a ideal scenario, we would add student ID and college ID attributes. Why student ID? Because name and birth year cannot be unique all the time. So we would create R1 like this, and for R3 we would add an attribute college ID, because college names cannot be unique all the time. There can be two colleges with the same name. So we added one college ID here. And R4, now we don't need to make these two the primary keys after we add this student ID, and for R4 student ID, name, birth year, address and college ID would be sufficient. And in this one I do not need to fill all the data, only writing the schema part of this much should do. So this is one way of solving this, and another way that I said earlier was considering this as primary key, considering this as a prime key. And similar kind of question has already been solved, and I'll put a link to that video also in the description. You can watch that. Anyway, the final goal is to remove all the anomalies, remove partial dependency and transitivity. So you can take the either route, finally both the ways you will reach here. So there is no need to worry, whatever method you prefer you can take that method. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions you can ask in the comment.